What's going on, guys? Hope everyone's having an awesome day. Today we had on Max Scheller, a good friend of mine. We talk about his time being at EMT, and he shares some pretty interesting stories from that. What else we got? So we got a new camera for the webcam. It's a lot better quality. So excited about that, and should be coming out with a lot more podcasts now. We just took a little bit of time off, and yeah. So I hope you enjoy the podcast, and I hope you guys have an awesome day. All right, man. So what's going on? How you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
What do you got drinking there? Some gin and tonic?
My signature drink.
So, for everyone that doesn't know, I'm sure I already let you guys know what Max does and or did. He is a EMT and did it for what, like a year?
2 years, almost 2 years.
2 years.
20. What an interesting 20 months that was.
It was 20 months. It doesn't even seem like it because, like, we had just gotten out of college and everything.
Yeah, and for me, it was also weird because I started in the middle of COVID, like right in the middle of COVID, which was an interesting time to be an EMT.
I can only imagine.
It was actually probably less busy than it would normally be, surprisingly, because nobody wanted anything to do with hospitals, you know? People are afraid that they're going to go to the hospital and catch COVID, which is honestly was not going to happen. But it meant that there was almost like no calls. No one was calling 911 because no one wanted to go to the hospital.
So you got pretty much paid to hang out in an ambulance.
I mean, yeah, we still had our usual calls, things you have to call 911 for.
Like a heart attack or something.
Like a heart attack, car accidents, overdoses, lots of those.
Yeah.
Lots of overdoses.
And so you did EMS in Springfield for AMR.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Anyone that doesn't know, it's an interesting place. I would say it's not the nicest of cities, just to put it frankly. And it's a great place. I enjoy working there, and there's a lot of nice people, great people, but it's got some bad parts. It's got issues, like all big cities do, and it's not even really a big city.
No, that's a weird thing about Springfield.
120,000 people, I think, is Springfield, which is pretty big. If you think about it, but way smaller than where DC. Like here, DC is like almost 1 million people. I think roughly 800,000, something like that. So. It's still relatively big, but
that's a lot more. That's like 8 times the amount of Springfield. And for those people that don't know about Springfield, Massachusetts, it's like
the home of basketball.
It's a home of basketball. That is true. It's also just like, I don't know, when you're in a bad part, you're in like a really, I don't know, they're like, it's a weird type of city because I feel like there is kind of crime kind of most areas.
It's a lot. In the past couple of years with the casino coming, MGM built a big casino downtown, and that kind of, well, in 2 ways, kind of made downtown a little nicer and safer, but also it has drawn in crime and more drug use still. But, it's changed a lot over the years. Like a lot of places up here, it used to be super rich, super, developed, well off, and it's kind of gone down. Like Holyoke, Holyoke used to be one of the richest towns in America, actually, when all the mills were running and stuff. You can still see that, some of the neighborhoods, like Deer Run over there. Big, old, like 1800s houses that you can tell used to be like gorgeous. And even Springfield's like that too. There's tons of these beautiful old houses that are right next to apartment blocks.
Wasn't like Holyoke one of the first areas with like, I know it wasn't the very first, but it was like one of the first areas with a canal system and like with the dam and everything.
Hadley Canal actually was the first. I can correct me on this, I think, but I believe the South Hadley Canal was the first functional canal in North America, built in like the late 1700s. The one down by there. Yeah. I think that was the first canal ever built.
Really? I actually didn't know that. That's kind of wild.
But yeah, it's a cool area. People rag on Western Mass, especially, I don't know about you, but when we went to UMass, I felt like all the Eastern Mass people just shit on Western
constantly.
They're like, there be dragons. It's like...
Dude, everyone was like, it's the middle of nowhere. And that's how you knew they were from Eastern Mass, because it was just like, come on, man. Like, it's like kind of out there, but like out there is like, I don't know, the hill towns or like way in the Berkshires. Like the Berkshires isn't even that, like, I don't know, for being
a reputation for like there's a lot of celebrities that have like vacation houses in the Berkshires. I think Adam Sandler has a house in the Berkshires. Like a lot of people do because
Yeah, I think so.
it's a nice area for the winter and the fall. The Berkshire East is a decent ski area.
Yeah, Berkshire East also is like
Berkshire Ice.
Berkshire Ice, and it's also not completely in the Berkshires. It's more,
Right. It's
um,
like way up
but
there, like north.
Butternut is a big area.
Yeah. It's
That's
back
kind of
there,
like that and Bosquet, but Bosquet is super small. Okay, for those that are listening that don't know, like we grew up together, we went to college together, and we snowboard and play video games all the time together. But
all the time.
yeah, like literally most nights. So we're probably gonna get into some video game news and stuff going on in the industry and stuff we want to see. But we're also gonna talk about Max's experience with EMS because I don't know. I think it's super interesting and like there's a lot to tell, especially when you do it in like a city like Springfield because Springfield's got a lot of crime, a lot of drugs, and it's getting better. But like I did UPS there, in like the worst part of Springfield, really, like School Street, all that.
I was just to say like School Street.
Yeah, that's how I delivered that like every day, and it was
Right across School Street, actually across the intersection on the other side of State Street is Spring Street, and on that same street, I have done 2 shootings within 2 blocks of each other.
yeah. That summer, the
The worst
summer I worked at UPS was the same summer there was like a gang war going on. So there was like shootings every like I was down the street from a few different shootings, like hearing the shots.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We play the game at work, we're like, is it fireworks or is it gunshots, especially around 4th of July? You're sitting posted, you're like, you hear a couple bang bangs, you're like, could have been fireworks, could have been gunshots. I guess we'll find out soon. But yeah, I didn't know what to get or what it was going to be like getting into it either. It was kind of like a spur of the moment thing for me because COVID, as for a lot of people, COVID just like was wrecked everything, wrecked any plans I had of going into a normal kind of career. I wanted to get into like lab work, that's what my degree was for, but COVID shut that down because nowhere was really hiring or anything. So I took the class the summer after senior year. It was just like a temporary career, pretty much, get some healthcare experience. Yeah, it was cool. For anyone wondering, the class is not very difficult. It's like anywhere between like $800 to $1,200 take the class. It's like anywhere between 6 weeks to 14 weeks, depending on which version you take. I took an accelerated one, which was like 8 weeks. And I mean, you learn a lot, and you also learn a lot of skills that will be useful even if you don't ever really become an EMT. Because that happened with my class. Like there were plenty of people that went through it and then didn't ever go on to become EMTs for whatever reason. But even still, you learn basic life support, you learn CPR, and just a lot of stuff that if you're ever in the right place at the right time, you could save someone's life just with those skills. But yeah,
That's
it's a cool
fair.
job. It's a humbling job, and you're providing a service to a community. That was huge for my company AMR. They're always like, oh, we're in service to our community and all that, which it was true. It's true.
Yeah. Now, so like getting into it, like so there's an unreleased podcast that will never be released, but I did one with Nate. And was Nate an EMT before you? Did
Why
he
would that
kind of?
never be released?
There's reasons it won't be released. We have to re-record. We got very drunk, and it was just like we were slurring our words and everything. It just wasn't good.
I'm gonna keep it to this one gin and tonic.
Oh, you can drink as much as you want. Just
Well, I don't want to get up and take another.
yeah,
So
same.
we'll keep it to this one.
But so what turned you on to AMR? Was it like because you lived with Nate? Was he in? Was he in before you? And like,
Yeah.
did he kind of give you the idea, or were you thinking about it and he was doing it already, and you're just like, oh, this seems cool?
Yeah, him and my roommate Colin, they both worked at AMR, and they would come home with their stories, and they were always intriguing and very interesting. Sounded exciting. Definitely is exciting at points. Although they have a saying in EMS, which is hours of boredom for minutes of excitement, which is definitely true. You sit around for maybe 2-3 hours posted, playing on your phone, doing nothing, and then you get a call for like a cardiac arrest or something, which you're only there for half an hour at most. But yeah, it's the hours of boredom, minutes of excitement. It definitely holds true.
That's
But yeah,
cool.
also just it's kind of like kind of the easiest way to start getting into healthcare, like experience a lot of like positions in a hospital. There's a lot more like classes and training you have to go through to like start working there. Where EMS is like pretty simple. You take a class that are offered everywhere. Nate took his at a STIC, community college. I took mine through a private company called National EMS Institute. Actually rocking the shirt I got from them. Yeah, you can take the class like anywhere, and they're always happening all the time, rotating and starting like monthly. So it's a good way to just get experience if you're thinking about going into healthcare, you know,
Yeah.
especially if you're thinking on like to go, and Nate did, to the fire department. A lot of them want you to work EMS or even paramedic first.
Colin
Like,
actually did that too, right? I think he's
yeah,
up in East Hampton or something like that now, or Northampton.
yeah, on the fire department. But he had to go through medic school too because Northampton is a fire department that only has EMT paramedic or firefighter paramedics. That's how DC is too. So like Nate's fire department, they're strictly the fire department. Like they don't run ambulances or anything.
Hmm.
But a lot of fire departments run like fire and ambulance, so you have to be certified for at least EMT, if not paramedic, to do that.
I wonder why
So,
that's like that. That's
mm,
super interesting because it's like where their budget cuts that cut down like.
yeah, it just comes down to each town. Like Springfield doesn't have their fire department is the same thing. The Springfield Fire Department is just the fire department. Like they run fire trucks and ladders and stuff. They don't have ambulances, so AMR is contracted to cover the 911s.
I wonder how much that costs. Who even pays for it? I know it's
Wow.
a government, but like, is it like tax dollars? Is each town like given a
Well,
certain thing, or is it like?
I mean, you're pretty much paid for by the calls you do, right? Like people's insurance and everything, and like you get a bill for an ambulance, which that's a whole nother subject to get into how expensive it is in American healthcare in general.
Yeah.
But that's mostly what pays for it. Is you call an ambulance, you get brought to the hospital, excuse me, and you get a bill for whatever happened.
Yeah, aren't they
Especially
like $4,000 for like an ambulance ride or something like that?
it depends a lot. It depends on your insurance, that you have and what is done during the ride. Like a lot of people call for stupid reasons, to be completely frank, and we just pretty much don't do anything for them. Like you just take their vitals and drive them to the hospital. That bill's probably like $1,000. But if you need like a paramedic to show up and you get EKG and they start an IV on you, they give you like fluids and they give you medicines and stuff, like then your bill can start racking up a lot to definitely the tens, like thousands of dollars.
So you have to, I'm sure, like, because you have to like write reports and everything every time you do a call. And
Yeah, you have to write. It's called PCR, patient care report. You have to write one for every call that you do, and basically detail like everything that you did, everything that the people told you, everything you found. You have to do. Basically you run through the call like it's a narrative of the call that you did.
did you
So
now? Have you guys ever? Did you have any experience? I know you can't like divulge like patient information, but like
yeah, you can just we don't have no names,
no
but
names, but stories.
obviously, yeah.
Did you have any like experiences with like mental health like breakdown stuff where you guys had to administer aid to like someone like
Oh yeah, very
yeah.
frequent. I have one that very much sticks out because this is also the only time, well, actually one of two times where we had the police involved with a lot of calls just for like everyone's safety, but a
Mhm.
lot of the time calls like that, we show up with the police department, and this one call making was one of two times where a person had to get tased by the police like while we were there, and this guy was basically like he was like maybe 30 years old or so, and he was schizophrenic but refusing to like take his meds for maybe like a week or two. And so like we showed up, and his, I don't know if it was his sister or someone like caretaker or whatever was there, and she was like, yeah, he like he took off from the house just in a complete daze and just walked down the street. And we basically went around with the police and eventually found this guy that matched his description. And it's really weird. People with schizophrenia, like some of them have kind of a grasp on reality. We have another lady who is like one of our regulars who we would deal with a lot. She was like a much more calmer schizophrenic. She just kind of was just crazy, a little bit crazy, a little loopy, but still there. But this guy was like, you could not reason with him, right? Like you could not try to calm him down. Like nothing you would do would even relate
Jeez.
to him. And we try our best to like calmly get him, be like, come on, we just want to help you out, come sit on the stretcher, blah blah blah. But he actually ended up like pretty much attacking a cop and trying to like beat the shit out of him. So his partner like tased him and handcuffed him, and
Jesus.
we brought him in the ambulance. And shit like that is like, it's tough because like, what are you gonna do with a person like that? Like, you try your best to reason with them and try to be like, you know, reasonable and calm, but like if they're being violent and they're like, you don't know that you're violent with us, like the police and the EMS, like who knows what you're gonna do to a
Random.
random stranger and like on the street. You know, he's just walking down the street. He could have like walked into a store and
Like,
flipped, right? Start like
yeah.
it's tough, and there's a lot of talk about like there should be a dedicated service for like mental health crises because like we're not really trained for that well, and neither are the police. You
Yeah.
know, and you see these stories on the news of like police, you know, being really rough or whatever with a person who might be disabled or has like schizophrenia or mental health issues, and you know it's just tough because you got to keep yourself safe and try to keep them safe. And with people like this, you know, like that guy I'm talking about, like there's no reasoning with them, there's no like talking with them and trying to get them to understand because they won't get it. You know, they're just
Yeah. They got like stuff going on in their like brain that like we can't even comprehend.
you
Like,
can't even start to comprehend what it's like for them. Like they probably see everything as a threat or whatever, and like it's
mm-hmm.
tough to deal with shit like that. But we just do our best. And with
Yeah.
paramedics, you know, there's that guy specifically. Also, after he was tased, we had, like the paramedics with us ended up sedating him
Gee.
with like you know medicine. You know, I ended up like
Yeah.
and then, like giving him sedatives. I think ketamine is what we use on the ambulance to sedate people. So literally got an IV of ketamine to like mellow out.
Jesus, dude. And like from what I've heard about ketamine too, it's like it can be scary as fuck if you're on it.
You ever heard of the K hole?
Yeah.
The K hole or whatever, and like I don't really know exactly what that means, but yeah, you can go to a pretty dark place with that
Yeah,
shit.
that's what I mean, especially like if you're like schizophrenic or like cuz I have no idea what that's like, but like
Yeah.
thinking about that is just terrifying. But what else are you left with for options? And I think that kind of goes into like our whole we're in a mental health crisis and like how we could there's ways that it could be dealt with better.
Yeah, like I mean, like
Just mental health altogether, really.
easily be you know, trained people who are there to deal with that.
Yeah,
People who are mental health crisis counselors, like they have them in the hospital.
they do.
Crisis intervention people that are specifically trained to deal with like mental health issues,
So
but for not really in the field though.
why don't they attach that to like a police department? Why isn't there like people like that on the police department that aren't trained as cops but they're there for mental health situations like that like they meet the cops at the place and they're like cops are there for safety but they stand back a good amount or something like that.
You know,
You
probably
make
just mostly has to do with budgeting, I would guess. Police
yeah
department has a limited budget, and everything has a limited budget. You know, they just don't really have the resources to do that.
yeah
Springfield did have something similar to that. It was called BHN, which is like Behavioral Health Network, which was like a thing run by the hospital, where they would send people to calls like that. But the issue is on a typical day they would have 2 or 3 people working for like the entire day, and we get like on our busiest days sometimes we would get over 1,500 calls. Or not, sorry, not our busiest days. That's the busiest month. We get like 1,500 calls a month, but easily in a day you could get a couple hundred 911 calls. And you
wow
might get like, you know, 10, 15 mental health kind of calls, and they just don't have the resources to send them wherever. And usually they also didn't work on weekends, and a lot of that stuff happens on
happens
weekends when people are drinking and other things going on.
or like not even at work or whatever they do, you know.
That's a big contributor to mental health stuff, is like drugs and alcohol makes it worse. Pretty
Yeah.
much, pretty much as a rule, drinking or doing drugs makes people with mental health issues, you know, it gets worse.
Yeah, that's wild. So I don't know. What was like so you get into the job, and do you remember like your first call or the first time like you had like a serious situation?
You know, honestly, if they start, they kind of blend together after a
Yeah.
while.
Or
There's
do you
like,
have like a top three like kind of craziest stories or something that like really kind of had an impact on you?
I think definitely the first one that sticks out is my first shooting that we had to go to, which was like maybe 5 or 6 months into working, so it took a while. of working full time. Like, I was working full time, 40 hours a week. It took like 5 months or so to have to respond to a shooting. And coincidentally, the first shooting that I had to go to was the worst of all the ones that I had to go to the whole time. This guy was shot 6 times. He had two in the torso, he had two through his arm, he had two through his thigh. So
Jesus.
literally shot 6 times, and he was, bleeding out basically. I'm not sure. I don't think that guy made it, but like just seeing stuff like that is, for anybody, especially when it's your first time, you're kind of like in the moment, you're kind of like dumbfounded. You're just like you freeze a little bit because you're like, wow, that's like this dude is shot, and
Yeah.
you go for it and everything. You know what you're supposed to do, but obviously in the moment, you're just like, wow, this is intense.
What do you even do? Like, what do you even do if someone's shot in like the chest? Do you just pack it or
Oh,
like?
we have they're called occlusive dressings. They're specific like dressings that are for chest gunshot wounds. They're called sucking chest wounds because it's like they can suck air in when you're breathing, and it's basically a bandage that has three adhesive sides, and then one side of it has nothing. And so like you just stick that over the wound basically, and that's so that air can escape but can't go in, because that's you don't want like air getting into the chest cavity because a lot of issues involved with that. But yeah, and then for like non-chest wounds, you just like apply pressure. We have tourniquets. That guy didn't really need a tourniquet because of where they were, but you could use a tourniquet for like lower lower leg and upper arm wounds. Put a tourniquet like above them. Yeah, you just apply pressure and wrap them up. And for that one, we basically just like put the dressings on, and then you just bring them to the hospital like ASAP. Because there's only so much we can do. Versus like when you bring them to the hospital, they go into the trauma bay, and there's like literally like 10 doctors and surgeons and stuff all there they can do so much more than we can do. So you
Yeah.
just have to get into the hospital. Well, that was
Well,
kind of cool. We had a police escort to the hospital. It was like 5 cop cars, and they're like clearing intersections for us and everything.
that's wild.
Yeah, but it was that a lot of bad car accidents that had to go to. None, well, I think one with like a fatality, but most of them are like most car accidents, no matter how bad they are, the people are relatively uninjured. Like I've seen some accidents where I literally would have thought that person was like dead on impact, and they're not. Like they might have a broken leg or whatever, but they're alive and like conscious, relatively okay.
Wow.
Just goes to show that modern cars have come a long way with like airbags and safety and everything.
Yeah, especially Teslas. Aren't like Teslas like super hard to get killed in?
I've heard that. I've heard they're also like impossible to roll over.
Yeah, because of the battery and like the center of gravity.
Like if you roll a Tesla, you like really fucked up. They're like really hard to roll over.
Yeah. And so you talked about when we first started, um, you said it was like a humbling experience because like I can imagine you've been on calls where people didn't make it and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know what like really, when did you start to realize that it was kind of like humbling you and like made you think about life and stuff like that?
It's a good question. I think just kind of evolved throughout the time doing it. Like the more, we call them high acuity. High acuity call is like a serious call. Anything that's like really seriously life threatening. And like the more of those you do, the more you just realize that like this stuff, like it happens, like it's an everyday thing all over the world. Like no matter where you are, people get in like traumatic accidents, have like strokes and heart attacks and stuff. And one thing that really like we had to remember a lot, and they like grilled this in our head in training, is like for you, every day is like it's just a day of work. Like this is your job, and you're working. But for the people on the call, like this could theoretically be like the worst day of their entire life that you're like showing up at, especially like for family members. Like had to do plenty of cardiac arrests where like it's someone's mom or dad and like their kids and their brother and sister or whatever are there, and they're so emotional and everything. And like you have to remember that for you, you're like, I'm just doing my job. Or for these people, it's like literally the worst day of their lives probably, and you
Yeah.
just have to like try to reassure them and provide them with some measure of comfort. It's
Yeah.
not you when like your family member is there getting CPR done on them and everything, but yeah, it
That's
is humbling. It
that's
kind of makes you think
definitely
that like life is precious because like it could go out in the blink of an eye. Like
yeah.
that guy I was talking about who got shot, he was like 23 years old. which is younger
Jeez.
than like we are, you
Yeah.
know, and like just think like it's crazy.
Well,
You got to be careful. I definitely think that like being careful in everything you do, whether it's driving or just you got to have situational awareness and not
hmm
put yourself in positions where stuff like this can happen.
yeah. I think it's funny. No, well, that none of that was funny, but like no, but the human body. So it's like you can like it's so easy to like die, but at the same time like there's been people that like literally get their like fucking head blown off, like half of it like blown away, and they
Yeah,
survive. So it's like where where is that line, like where you appreciate it and you are humbled by it, but it's just like you see these like crazy things, like people get shot a bunch of times and they're still like I don't know, like running at a cop after getting shot 20 times or something like
yeah,
that. Like you see
yeah.
these crazy things and like the human body is like crazy, like
It's extremely resilient, the human
yeah.
body. You can go through some pretty serious trauma and still survive and like live through it, you know? And like most of the stuff I saw, like I didn't have any horrible calls. Like I had plenty that were pretty bad, but like some of the stories that people that I was working with, like especially the guys that were there for like 10 plus years, people who had been working here for a long time, like I would hear some stories of them, things that are just like unbelievable, you know?
Do you
Like
do you have any
literally
examples?
I mean, I had one dude who was like, they went to a car accident of like a giant ass pickup truck versus basically like a tiny little sedan head on, and one of the passengers in the sedan was completely decapitated, like on the scene.
Jesus
Not like
Christ.
literally like head is gone, like dead. And I didn't have
Jesus.
anything like that, but like I think that can happen easily.
Yeah, and I mean, there's your body can't handle that obviously, and
Yeah.
that's not. I don't know.
Hmm.
I just thought it's kind of interesting how like there is that dynamic, you know.
Yeah. That's one of the actually that's one of the five signs of obvious death that they teach us. There's like literally they tell you the five signs of obvious death, which are things of like, you don't have to continue to work for this person. It's like decapitation is one of them. And then the other ones are like extensive burns, like third degree burns on like the entire body, decomposition, which, obviously they're like if a person is decomposing,
Did
they
you have
can,
to go to any calls like that, like where the
oh yeah,
person was like are well already dead for like a few days?
no, probably like, yeah, a couple days. Not like Nate has a story that he can tell you about. You know that little sketchy motel on Route 5, kind of near the Canoe Club, like near
Yeah.
Holyoke Country Club. That's like tiny little. They got a call for like the owner was like, yeah, this guy's been checked in for like 2 weeks and like he hasn't, or he was supposed to be checked out whatever like days ago and hasn't left. And they said they went in there and this guy was like literally like decomposing, like maggots eating him, and like clearly had been dead for like probably a week or more.
Holy shit.
I haven't had any like that. I had one where a guy was probably dead for like a day or two because he started to have what we call lividity because he was on his side and like the blood when you're dead starts to just pool on whatever side of you is,
Oh.
leaning. So like this side of him is like completely white and pale, and like his arm and this side is just like black and purple because all the blood just like pools onto that side.
Jesus
It's pretty
Christ.
gnarly. Sorry for anyone who's squeamish listening to this
Yeah,
podcast.
I'll put a warning in
Like
early, I
disclaimer,
guess.
like there's a maybe some graphic content, but
Yeah, I mean,
other
but
stuff.
when we're talking about a job like this, it's like you're around death like a lot. Like it's
Yeah.
not. It's I don't know. I
Well,
feel like a lot of people don't really get that frame
the
of reference.
thing is it is a lot, but it's also not a lot. Like there would be stretches of like easily a couple weeks where like I have no calls of like dead people or like cardiac arrest or car like nothing like just people who are injured or having chest pain and we bring them to the hospital. Like that's most of your calls, and honestly, a lot of the calls are stupid. That's the
Yeah.
reality of it. It was people will call 911s for like really, really dumb reasons. Just to be frank, like people call because like, oh, my shoulder hurts and I can't like rotate it well. Or, like, oh, my knee is killing me, and I'm like, that's not something to call an ambulance for. But
How do
I
people
never,
not know that?
yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm like, if you want us to bring you, sure, but you're gonna get a bill for like $1,000 because you have like a bad knee, and you could just have a family member bring you to the ER.
Yeah.
Especially another thing which people will not realize is just because you call an ambulance, you are not going to get seen at the hospital any faster if what you have is like not important. We would very often show up at the ER and bring someone to the waiting room of the ER, and then they would go sit in the waiting room, and they'd be like, "Wait, what? I called the ambulance," and
they think it's a fucking cheat code.
They do. They think that just because you called an ambulance, that like you're gonna get into the ER immediately, and a doctor's gonna see you like right away. Like that's not how it is. Because basically the way it works is we radio. Well, now it's not really radios. It used to be all radios. We still can't radio into the hospital, and you're talking to a nurse in the ER, and you're like, oh, we have a 37-year-old male with the chief complaint of achy right knee. And you're like, his vital signs are stable, he has no like blah blah blah, and they're like, okay. And then when you get there, they're just like, oh, this is the guy with the bad knee, yeah, send him to the waiting room, because like it's the hospital's decision of where they go. And like a lot of time they're just like, yeah, he's going out to the waiting room, and people get pissed. They're like, wait, what? I'm going to the waiting room?
I just paid for $1,000 Uber.
Basically. Like it's not our decision, it's the hospital's choice of where you go once we're there. Like once we're at the hospital, they have no power to like change anything.
Dude, at least you guys have that like cop out. Like they can complain all you want. It's like, go talk to my manager. It's called the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. You can complain at the hospital. This is beyond my
goddamn.
Well, and another big side, which especially with Springfield, and I think a lot of big cities now, is like the overdoses. I would easily say, working there for 2 years, I did probably like 150 to 200 overdoses, like easily a couple overdoses a week. It's like a plague. It seriously is. Like it's just crazy. And most overdoses don't end in like someone dying. A couple do. Like, some did, but like most of them don't because of Narcan. We give people Narcan and it really does work. Like it will revive you out of an overdose. Like some people will literally be not breathing when we show up. We give them Narcan and they can come back. Like a lot of the time they do.
That's crazy. That doesn't mean go do drugs, by the way, guys.
Doesn't mean go do drugs. But also if you do drugs, do it responsibly. Because that's seriously like a thing that they push is like if you are gonna do like heroin or fentanyl and like be a drug user, like you should get Narcan and have friends with Narcan. It's cheap. A lot of cities will give it away. Springfield had a program like that where you could literally get free Narcan. And like just no questions asked, you could have a kit available because, like people are not going to give up their drugs. No. It's just a reality. But if you're going to do it, just be prepared because overdoses are scary.
Yeah, I don't do drugs. So like, I don't know, but I can imagine. Yes, well, obviously, but that's not a drug. But so like, yeah, actually, for being someone that's not a paramedic, I've actually dealt with an overdose, like at my job when I was working at Big Y. In the parking lot, a dude, I was closing out Big Y, and a dude and his girlfriend were doing heroin out in the parking lot at like 10 o'clock at night. About to close the door where I'm going out to get the last carts, and this lady comes running up to me and she's like, call 911, call 911. And I'm like, I can't just do that because like, I don't know what's going on. So you got to tell me what's going on. Cause I don't know if I'm not going to, do you remember the manager, the larger man that was super nice? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not going to say his name, but like he was there with me and he's like, well, I ran in to ask him what was that?
I worked at Big Y too, and I think he told me this story.
Yeah, I was the guy that was with him. And like, so I go in, I'm like, yo, we got to call 911. And he's like, we got to figure out what they're calling 911 for. So I was like, okay. We both go out there. She's like, trying not to tell us, and then she tells us. We're like, oh shit. So he calls 911. She takes me to the car. She can't move him out of the car. He's like making like zombie noise. It was terrifying. Like zombie noises. It looked like he was dead, unresponsive completely. And I could see that there was heroin like on the dashboard. Mm-hmm. And apparently they were snorting it. But like, so she's like, we gotta get him in the safety position. So I pull him out of the car and lay him down and put him on his side, and he stops making the noises. But like, I don't know what else to do. I'm not a fucking paramedic or anything.
Well, there's like the thing to do is Narcan. Without Narcan, isn't much else to do,
I mean, I found out later the the Narcan didn't work because
They're probably pretty heavy users.
well, no, not just that. It was because they snorted it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you snort heroin, apparently like Narcan, it like blocks the Narcan from getting in or something like that.
We do have IV Narcan. Like paramedics can start an IV and give you like IV Narcan too, if
Oh,
the vein working, which we've had to do plenty of times.
so
You
maybe,
know, we had one overdose, and me and my partner like gave this guy, I think like 4 or 6 doses of the nasal Narcan, and it was not doing anything. Like, not.
Jesus.
And then you have to get IV Narcan at that point because that's the only thing that's gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember a friend of ours, dad, showed up because he was a cop, and like he had us go, but like then the ambulance showed up and everything else. But like I don't know, that was a crazy experience. It was fucking terrifying. Like don't do drugs. Just don't.
Don't do. That's the main message. But
Yeah.
also, I just if you are gonna do drugs, do it responsibly because there's just no way to stop people from doing drugs. And
Oh yeah, 100%.
yeah,
But like it's just not worth it, man. Just I
especially
don't know.
with heroin stuff like that, like the reason a lot of people overdose is not because it's not even because they like take a crazy amount. It's because you never know what every dose and batch is gonna be. Like, especially with fentanyl these days, people cut fentanyl into their heroin and everything, and fentanyl is like 100 times stronger than heroin is. So, you might be thinking that you're taking your normal dose of heroin, but
Well,
like it's got fentanyl, so it's actually like, 4 times the dose, and like that's when an overdose happens.
yeah, and that's like 100% true. That like people are cutting. Like you don't know what you're getting off the street. I mean that you could lie that into the whole argument for legalize or decriminalizing at least all drugs.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
like
that's like
that's
legalized marijuana too. Like
yeah,
if you've got a dispensary, it's going to be safe. Because I've actually had experiences with laced marijuana in college,
same.
and it's it's not fun.
Yeah, no, definitely
Yeah.
not. But what are you gonna do? I don't know. It would just be yeah. You just gotta be careful. But like I saw a video with fentanyl. I mean, fentanyl is like what they put in dead bodies to preserve them.
Yeah, it's
So,
not good. It's also it is what they use as as painkillers. Like hospitals use fentanyl as a
oh
painkiller
really?
because it's effective. Yeah, we actually carried fentanyl in the ambulances
Oh wow.
as like a painkiller, but the dosage you get is crazy. Like I think the dose for an adult is like zero point 0.1 micrograms, which is 1 millionth. Yeah, 1 millionth of a gram. So like zero point 0.1 micrograms, which is like 1/10 millionth of a gram or something. Like the dose is incredibly small
That's insane.
because it can be because it's so strong and effective. Like the tiniest dose will work as like a painkiller.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a video of a cop was looking through. They had like pulled someone over and were doing a search, and he found fentanyl and a white powder, which was all fentanyl, I guess. He literally didn't even like open the entire bag to see it. He opened the bag and it knocked him out cold.
Yeah, fentanyl will absorb through your skin,
Yeah.
which is why it's super dangerous. Actually, the gloves that we had at AMR were like on the box specifically like fentanyl safe gloves. Like they're pretty thick rubber gloves, specifically like because they're fentanyl safe. Like fentanyl won't absorb through them.
Now, is that like
Well,
from your knowledge, do you know if that's like a newer drug that has been started
it's
to be
definitely
used?
newer, like within the past 20 years at least. I think it originated in China, like Chinese pharmaceutical labs, created it. They're always creating new drugs, like constantly. And there's even, I think, drugs now that are even stronger than fentanyl too, that are even like more potent than fentanyl that exist. But yeah, it is a more recent thing.
What
And
is
that's
the
why
point?
the whole well, like the point really is like for true pharmaceutical and like hospital uses. Like it was designed as a painkiller, so like you can ship like a large amount, a large amount over that will be a lot of doses because the dose is so small. It's just like a cost-effective way to make
Wow.
painkillers.
I didn't even think
But
about it that way.
yeah, like it has a purpose. Like literally, like in the hospital, like they give people fentanyl for a painkiller because it's super effective as like a painkiller in small doses.
Holy
And that's what it's
shit.
for. So, like people can abuse it. just like any other drugs, people, that's where the opioid crisis started, right? People getting prescribed painkillers by doctors and then just taking them and being, like, oh shit, this rocks. And getting addicted to it.
a friend a friend of ours had to get morphine once. I remember hearing all.
I got Vicodin when I got my wisdom teeth out, and that shit slaps. There's no denying that.
Okay.
I can see why addiction happens.
Does not mean do it. It's terrible for you. Don't do drugs. That's one thing. One of my professors at UMass actually was like, you know why people do drugs? Because drugs are awesome. But they ruin your life. That's like what he said to like an entire class of college kids.
Your professor seems like it'd be so fun. I had a professor freshman year tell us to get fake IDs. He's like, you're not experienced. You got to get a fake ID and get out there. Like, that's how you really experience the world.
Dude, some professors say some whacked out shit.
Like, get a fake ID in your notes.
Dude, to have the ball, like, that professor has to be tenured then. Because, I have to be untouchable to say this.
Yeah, he was. All the tenured professors are shit. I feel like I had a couple, like, newer professors, and all of them were always such like, hard-nosed about everything. Because I feel like, they have to be at that point.
Yes and no, because actually one that was on the podcast was cool as shit.
Yeah, not saying they all are.
No, yeah. He technically wasn't a professor yet. He was a grad student that was teaching classes.
Yeah.
But no, I think the best. Well, it depends on the professor you get, I guess, because like most of the tenured professors that I had were like the coolest motherfuckers around, and the guys that weren't guys and girls, but the guys and girls that weren't professors, they were just like people they hired to teach classes. Those people were real cool.
Yeah.
I had a few like that.
No,
because they weren't doing
it. How do you feel about the student loan forgiveness? Do you have any student loans?
Dude, I have so many fucking student loans. I don't even want to talk.
Well, hey, some are getting forgiven.
Wait, really? I actually didn't hear about that.
Yeah, Biden officially signed they put it in. If you basically, I think almost everybody gets $10,000 of loans forgiven. If you got the Pell Grant, you get $20,000 forgiven. I think I did get the Pell Grant, so if that's true, I'm only going to have like $6,000 or $7,000 left in loans after the forgiveness, which is huge.
I wish that was true for me. I don't know how much, but that's huge then.
Yeah, you should definitely at least get like $10,000 forgiven.
Yeah, that will cut me down about like, I don't know. I think I have like, I know I have over 10.
Yeah.
I might have over 30, to be honest, left. I'm not sure. I have to look.
I think I have about 26,000.
Yeah.
So, but I think I don't know. It's a very tough. Sure. I'm not an economist, so I don't know anything about, people. I've heard so many arguments both sides, be like, oh, this is going to ruin our economy and blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I just think that it's bullshit how much they charge for college. Like, there's like, other countries have shown, and even the past, like, has shown that college doesn't need to be as expensive as it is.
Yeah.
What are they called? Not the counselors. Chairman, no. The lead guy. Chancellor?
Yeah. Chancellor.
Yeah. The chancellor doesn't need to be making $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Like,
some make it more than that. The president's colleges. One of the colleges I applied to, Quinnipiac, I remember reading I don't know if it was their chancellor, their president made literally like $2.1 or $2.2 million a year. And like, you're just basically, you do administrative work, It's really not, it doesn't work.
The money you're paying for school doesn't go towards all the research. It goes towards paying that motherfucker. And it's just like, why are we suppressed? Like, you could even look at it as a form of suppression because like
Yeah.
any intellectual students that like can't get jobs because they like are intellectuals. I don't know, someone that does film or someone that does writing. They have to go be like an English teacher or something because they have to
Yeah.
pay their student loans.
But it's true that it's also like a recent thing. Like my grandma went to college in the late 1960s, I think, or early
Hmm.
1970s, and she literally paid off college while working in college. Like she didn't have loans or debt. She was like, yeah, it was she was like a waitress during college and paid it off by the time she graduated. Like she made enough money as a waitress in college to pay for college. That is impossible today. Completely.
Impossible.
Like, even if you go, I mean, maybe for community college, but like then you're not. I mean, can you get a 4-year degree from community college? I don't think so, right? They only
No,
offer
it's
like
only an associate. Wait, it goes associates, bachelor's,
masters.
master's, doctorate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
PhD.
yeah. You can
But
only
yeah,
get associates. I did that, and then I went to the 4-year school.
and like literally compare that to her daughter, aka my mom. She got a master's degree from UMass in like 1997 or something, like right before we were born. I was born, and she still has loans, like now, for that degree.
That's
And
insane.
crazy how like it's just it hasn't kept up with wages and inflation and everything. It's like outpaced inflation.
Oh, and you know the worst thing about it is too, if I were to die today, my family would have to still pay back. That's the one form of debt that doesn't get
Yeah,
gone if you
credit
die,
does like all the other shit does, but yeah, not loans, student loans.
which is wild. It just doesn't make any sense.
Do they? I don't know. I'm not sure. Is that how that works? That's crazy. I didn't know that
Yeah,
actually.
that's like something that got passed a few years back or something. They made it that way with one of like the things. I'd have to look it up. I wish I had a Jamie like Joe Rogan to be like, hey, I want to look that up, but I don't. And I'm not.
Hey
Yeah,
Rachel, should I just sitting here on our laptop to fact check for us?
yeah. But like, yeah. So like, I don't know. It That's one of the most bullshit things there is. But besides the point, I don't know. College was fun. I guess it's worth the money, kind of.
Looking back at it, I'm like, I don't really care how much it costs because it was so fun and it was worth it. A degree does go a long way. Literally, no matter what degree it is. Like a lot of places, just like they want you to have a bachelor's degree. Doesn't even like matter what the discipline was.
Yeah, that's another weird thing. Is like, it's just agreed that we have to have this piece of paper that is
Well,
like this.
actually, it's because jobs look at that and it just kind of like it shows to them that like you got like okay, you got a bachelor's degree, regardless of what the discipline was. It just shows that like you are able to like handle like a large workload, like to think critically about things and like write long papers and read lots of stuff. It just kind of shows that you're like academically capable or like capable of doing you know
I The thing is like I guess, but like there's a lot of people that it's not.
I'm not saying it's how it should be that you need a bachelor's degree to like get at any job because you
Yeah,
shouldn't.
I think the main
Like,
problem I have is that like it depends on your major how hard it is to get a bachelor's degree because like you could. I did communications. If I didn't apply myself like I did, I could have cruised through that and gotten a bachelor's degree with almost no effort.
yeah,
Like it was
because my
not hard.
degree is in biology, and that was hard. Parts of it. Certain classes I took were fucking hard, like really hard, you know. And then you get into like engineering and like physics or something like that. Like I know a lot of, we know a couple engineers, and like every single one of them that I know is like they have had stories of like, yeah, I took an exam and the class average was like a 43. It's just like, yeah,
And that's what I mean. Like going to saying like, oh, we are taking anyone with a degree versus like let's look and see what they got their degree in because dude literally anyone could pass fucking it is so easy. I not to down it has a place and like
totally
it's
has a
not all
place.
that hard but like if you apply yourself and like actually try and learn like you're supposed to be,
Well,
which a lot of
ton
people
of courage
don't,
going
but
to the
like anyone could do it.
yeah, but well, not anyone can. Some people can't. Some people, like people, I know people that dropped out of UMass.
Well, yeah,
Like,
they probably weren't comm majors.
uh,
I don't know, man. I think a lot of people drop out because either they don't think it's worth the time, they are in a harder major, or
or
they
financially.
they don't know what they want to do, or financially.
And also, like, to be completely honest, like, I got a degree and I think it's worth it, but also, don't think you need to go to college at all to be successful. Like, if you're not, like, you can easily go to trade school. All the trades, no matter what, are perfect, like, perfectly excellent career choices. If you want to do electrician, plumbing, HVAC, like, they all pay well, and you're gonna get a job.
They pay
Construction,
very well.
yeah, very well. You
um,
know,
yeah,
think about
and
it. Yeah,
even going off of that, it's just like you don't need any schooling if you. I mean, like, graduate high school. Don't be a fuckhead. But
and
like,
it's free. You're not paying for it
it's free. You're not paying for it. And it
unless you go to private school.
unless you go to
Right.
private school. Well, we don't all have that privilege. You and me don't, at least. But I mean, in terms of you past high school, like you don't need like you could start your own business. You could make plenty of money. Like there's people that do waitressing and waiter like being waiters that like make more than I people I know make in a regular day job.
And bartending, especially. You can
Mhm.
easily make the equivalent of like $30 an hour or more as a bartender at a good, busy bar, especially like somewhere like in the city at like a kind of like a upper end, bar where drinks are like $15 or more for like a cocktail. Like you can make good money as a bartender.
Exactly. It's like there's a lot of jobs out there that pay well that make it so you can get through it. But like that is actually a perfect segue into you moved from here to DC.
I did
So
Washington, D.C.
let's talk about that a little bit. What is your experience so far and like
It's
um what I don't know, what was for one, how was moving down there? Because you didn't tell us.
Oh, yeah, it all happened so fast, honestly. It happened like literally in the course of 2 weeks between like I wasn't like me and Rachel, my girlfriend, were talking about like it might possibly happen, and then literally in 2 weeks span, it was like it is happening, and we're leaving like now, and it was pretty wild. It was definitely a huge commitment and change, but I think it's been worth it. I love it. I love it down here. I miss the boys, obviously, and hanging out, but you know, it's a great place for like opportunity. There's a lot of job opportunities here, and it's cool. It's cool living in the city. But yeah, I drove down here by myself in the U-Haul, which was an experience. That kind of sucked.
How'd you move everything in when you got there?
We just moved it in, me and Rachel. Like we just did it ourselves.
Couches and everything?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Took like 4 or 5 hours probably. But hey, yeah.
Well,
Next time I move someplace like long distance like this, moving company.
yeah.
First, it was suck doing it ourselves. And the U-Haul is a bitch. It's not even that cheap. It costs like it was like $400, $500 for the U-Haul to come down here, minus the gas, which was probably like $200 also.
Yeah, you're probably looking at what a moving company costs, like maybe a little less,
Even if it's more, I just think it's worth it because you don't have to do all this work.
and take up all that time.
Yeah.
Because those
This is
mover guys are like in and out in like an hour with all your shit somehow.
hmm Yeah, and they also have all the equipment you need. Like we didn't have any like hand trucks or dollies or anything. We were just like carrying boxes and carrying cabinets and everything. Luckily, it wasn't like that bad. Like our apartment building has a loading dock, and the elevator is like right there, and they let us like park in the loading dock with the U-Haul. So it was literally just like around the corner to the elevator, basically. But yeah, it was still kind of shitty, and it was also like 95 degrees on the day we were moving in. So you know,
Fuck that, dude.
that's
Well,
another thing about it here. It is hot. It is like hot here in DC and humid all the time. I think the high today was like 90 again. Like it's just always 90 degrees and super humid. and super hot. But
Yeah, man. Well, like, I wonder what the winter's gonna be like down there. Does it
I
get
think
much snow?
they do like they get snow, but like not like what we get at all.
What
But
what
they
are
do get
like the comparisons of living in like the city to like living here so far?
uh well, one, I don't have a car here and like haven't needed one. Neither of us brought our cars. Like we're just using public transport and bikes, like biking a lot. And all the electric scooters, which I gotta say are mad fun. I love the electric scooters you can rent. They're so fun. You know what I mean? Like the little like they look like a giant razor scooter.
Yeah.
Scooters, dude, they're so fun. I love them. Although sometimes when you're on a road without a bike lane, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna get ran over. But hey, I guess it's lawsuit money.
You're gonna pay for the rest of my college that I have to pay for.
Also, huge thing. I feel like I keep coming back to this all the time. Is yeah, just
Can you say
happy
that
hours.
again? It cut out.
Happy hours, dude.
Yeah.
Like happy hours, for those who don't know, are illegal in Massachusetts. You cannot have sales on alcohol in Massachusetts. Like restaurants that have happy hours will be like half price apps. But the happy hours here are like real happy hours. Like you can go and get like 6 beers for probably like $20 in a lot of places, which is huge, especially because restaurants here are expensive usually for the most part.
I can imagine.
But I mean, general cost of living is like not that bad. You know, there's a Walmart and a Target and a Trader Joe's right near us, and like they're maybe a little more expensive than like a you know like where we are, Walmart and Target, but it's still a Target, still a Walmart. Like it's relatively affordable for whatever you
Yeah.
need. Although not having a car does suck with things like when you need to get like toilet paper or paper towels because you have to like carry it wherever we're going.
Can't you get like DUIs riding bikes and scooters too?
And
I think that is a thing.
scooting back from the bars. I mean, hey, like I thought that they would like, not allow to use them, but we literally took a scooter the other day at like 12:45 at night, like literally almost 1 a.m. I was like, don't they just like they don't like lock these out at night? Like, it's like 1 a.m. riding around the scooters. I'm like, this seems really dangerous, but it's fun.
That's
We've been having a
awesome.
good time.
That's
And
sick, dude.
also, one thing I think is super cool is if you don't know, all the Smithsonian museums are like free. Like like all of them are completely free. So like the Natural History Museum, the like Gallery of Art, the Air and Space Museum, like I think there's 14 Smithsonian museums, and all of them are like completely free all the time. And the zoo, which the National Zoo here is only one of two zoos in the United States with pandas. The other one's San Diego, which is
Well,
cool.
I guess we're going
All
to the
that
zoo when I come.
it's lit. That was like literally the first thing we did, like on our first weekend we were here. We're like, let's go to the fucking zoo. But yeah, it's cool. And it's a historic city. And I think it's a good city compared to others. We were thinking about moving to New York City for a while, and I wasn't super psyched about that because I just think New York is like a cesspool. But like I've been there a lot, like probably like 20 times through the years, just visiting and stuff. My mom's friend used to have an apartment in Manhattan that we stayed at like 4 or 5 times for like a weekend or more, so it was like kind of getting the experience of living in New York. And it's just like it's so crowded, it's so loud all the time, like
And
it's
like the
just
general cleanliness of the city itself in New York
yeah.
just is not it. It
DC
is
is like
like,
really clean, I gotta say, for like for an American city. If you ever go to Europe, like, well, that's partially true. Some like parts of European cities are nasty, but like, they're generally pretty clean, especially in like Denmark or like Norway. The Scandinavian places, they're so clean and like neat and everything.
oh, I can
But
only imagine.
some American cities, not so much. DC's pretty good.
I feel like DC is good, Chicago in most parts, and their subway or the L is what they call it, and in
The
Chicago
metro
is very clean. Um,
metro here, but it's also really extensive here. Like I feel like the metro system here is fantastic. Like you can pretty much get anywhere on the metro. Like it's pretty much covers the entire city. It's like you can get basically anywhere with like a subway ride and like maybe a 10-minute walk because it just like, it's so really spread out and really covers everything well, which is nice, especially not having a car.
Yeah, did you guys get like passes pretty much?
Yeah, I have it on my watch actually, which is cool.
Oh,
There's like
that's
there's
sick.
actually only like 4 or 5 cities apparently where you can do that. But yeah, I have it like I literally just tap my watch on the
That's
like on the
sick.
car loaded on there, which is super convenient. Although if your watch ever dies, I guess you're
Kind of
screwed.
fucked.
Carry a spare card in my wallet for that possibility.
That's smart.
But
But
yeah,
you don't have to like pull out your wallet and all that shit.
you don't even have to. Also, you don't even have to like double tap for like Apple Pay. You have this thing called Express Transits. You literally just like put your watch on the reader and it just does it immediately. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So now that we kind of covered the two main things we were gonna talk about, why don't we hop into video games? Cause like,
Oh yeah.
have you heard of any video game news recently? The only news I really know about is Tarkov. So
Uh, I mean, not really. I'm excited for Modern Warfare 2 coming out and Warzone 2 because, you know, we used to love Warzone
used to.
back in its glory days.
Yeah.
It really was like, especially, I think it was kind of like also the time, like March, it released in March 2020 when COVID like took hold. And it was just like such a perfect timing of everyone just staying home all the time. You have all this time to kill.
Dude, it was
And
literally like being like in middle school again.
it was like going back to the glory days of gaming. It was great.
Before,
And, like we can't so many hours sunk in the war zone, and like also just with like so many friends, like we'd almost always have a full squad because like everyone was playing all the time.
well, dude, there's so many times when we were playing and we couldn't, like, we had to split up into like two groups of four because there's so many
Play
people.
like Search and Destroy or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
But
I don't know. I think my hopes for Warzone 2 are kind of just that goes back to what
yeah,
it
I'm
was.
optimistic.
What'd you say?
Said I'm optimistic, but also like realistic that you know I don't know if they'll be able to capture like the magic of what it was, but
I think really right now what's broken about it is just kind of the gun balance because there's just too much in the game.
yeah, I mean, I don't know the number, but I'm gonna guess there's over 100 primary weapons, definitely, with like the, Black Ops, whatever, and Vanguard guns added. It's too much. It's just like it's stupid. You
That
can't balance that.
there's no way.
No.
I don't know. It's frustrating, and like the main thing that like kills any cool industry is just like they did it for the money.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this is a good idea. No, the execs at the company were like, oh, we need to make X amount of money. We're gonna force them to buy the new game because we're gonna make the weapons better in the game and make it pretty much pay to win. And it's just like,
Thing like they probably make hundreds of millions, if not like over $1 billion on just like bundles with skins and weapon skins and stuff.
they could have just done the skins and just kept
Yeah.
doing skins for the
Also, even
entirety
now,
3 years.
I feel like it used to be like relatively tame, like skins, and now it's just like there's literally like the Terminator in Warzone, and like isn't there like Attack on Titan characters you can buy, and like they literally went like full Fortnite.
Yeah,
Or
I was just
Fort-
about to say that. They're just like Fortnite. It's terrible. The Attack on Titan was kind of a cool touch, though. Not gonna lie.
yeah, it was kind of cool.
We love that show. I don't know. We love a lot of animated shows, especially Avatar.
Yes,
Avatar
and
holds a special place in both of our hearts.
yes, but also controversially, I think I like Legend of Korra more than Avatar, which they're both fantastic. And Avatar is obviously the OG, but also I never watched Legend of Korra until like I didn't watch it when it came out. Whatever, like I watched it within the past like 2 years for the first time, and I thought it was like fantastic.
Agreed. I think I
But
agree completely.
also Avatar is great. There's no denying that. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like bash on Avatar because it's amazing.
I like wish I kind of had like more memorabilia of it to like put up in the background or something.
Oh, I have something. Hold on.
Oh,
Ready?
you do?
Oh yeah, you ready for this?
Yeah. That's
Appa.
lit. That's so awesome.
My mom sent this to us when we moved down here. She's like, "I got you a present." I was like, "What?" And it just
And
showed
you're
up.
just like, she knows.
There it is. It's
That's
Papa.
awesome. Holy shit, dude. But
Yeah, that was
yeah.
funny. That Papa is actually a pillow pet. Remember pillow pets?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's a pillow pet.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. I remember when I was growing up, fucking all the kids from my neighborhood had those, except for me, because I never got them. But
Uh, other video game news? I mean, yeah, I don't really
Tarkov,
follow it.
Tarkov's supposed to give a release date by the end of the year, and they're gonna combine all the maps, which I don't know if that's 100% true, but if it is, I'm very
No,
excited about
you
that.
say combine all the maps, you mean like create one gigantic map?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
So
interesting.
if that's the case, dude, I'm
So how
never
big would
playing
that
another video game again other than Tarkov.
like how big would that map be if that's the case? You
Fucking
know, like
huge.
how
It
big?
would be probably either the size of a Warzone map, if not bigger. It would be massive.
Well,
But
honestly, no. I am excited for it for probably when it comes out in like 2035 is GTA 6 eventually
didn't they
because
put
like
out stuff for that?
I don't know.
Probably
I feel
not.
like they're making too much money on GTA 5 still.
Still, which is
Still,
wild.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it's a great game. Like we used to play it a lot too. When the first launched, all of us we played a lot of GTA 5.
Back when there was the money glitch and all that stuff, and you could buy
The
everything
glow,
in the game.
yeah. But they got rid of that real quick because they're not making money if everyone has unlimited money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 90% of their profit was in the shark card, or all of their profit.
Yeah, still is.
Still is, yeah. The
But
only other
yeah,
thing in video game news I really know about is the Unreal Engine 4, which just looks
well,
groundbreaking.
yeah. The games that will be made with that are gonna be next level because everything that's out right now is basically just like tech demos, right? All the
Yeah.
stuff that is shown are just basically like tech demos and
Well, there's
very like
actually an interactive experience, I think, with the
uh,
Matrix.
yeah, and it's like a full city and everything. Maybe it's supposed to be
Yeah.
New York City.
I think you can download it actually. And what you can do is create your like there's like base levels that are like what is it called when you examples?
You can hear them.
Oh, the sirens. Yeah, that's all right. But like so you can walk around in the engine where they made like like that little area in New York, like where all the Times Square.
Yeah,
I couldn't think of the name
you
of
know,
it.
I think I'm right in saying this. I heard about the Unreal Engine is basically like it's open for anybody to use, right? Like anybody can use its tools and stuff to develop a game. And I think the way it's working is like you can release a game like I think for free basically, and you don't have to owe Epic any money until it makes $1 million.
That's
Like if
sick.
if you release a game, like if you can make money off it until it makes $1 million, then you have to start paying them a percentage or something. But like it just kind of opens it up to like anybody can make a some video game for free using the tools that are available.
That's cool. That's like because I know you could use it open source for like most games, but I didn't know if
Yeah,
that's always been the case. But either way, if it wasn't the case before, that's gonna be groundbreaking and might be like in response to like things being way too triple A because triple A games have pretty much just been shitting the bed constantly.
yeah. There's been some fantastic indie games that have released over the years, made by small teams of people or even like one person.
Well, I think Tarkov was a game studio, but it wasn't like a triple A game studio. It's huge. Daisy was someone modding. Counter Strike,
Mm.
Counter Strike. I'm pretty sure it was a mod for Half Life, and it's one of the
Yeah,
biggest ESL games there was
even
for a while.
like or no, was it DayZ? Wasn't that a mod for Arma
It
originally?
was an Arma 2 mod,
Yeah,
and that had thousands and thousands of hours of content made for it.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's cool, exciting future for video games,
I
opening it up to like smaller developers and people who just because the AAA games are like, yeah, they have the budget and everything, but I feel like they can just whack on like passion. Like they just feel like a mass produced, just like product.
They're
Even like
literally just there for money.
yeah, a big one for me was like Assassin's Creed. Like I love the early Assassin's Creed games, but I feel like the more and more they just make them, they're like, okay, we got to make another game, and like they just kind of lack with the early games.
100%.
I don't know. I didn't really play the recent ones. Whatever it was like Odyssey.
I know
The one
Matt
that
did.
thing, and I don't know, but like I played the shit out of Assassin's Creed 2,
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed 3, even Black Flag, the pirate game.
That one was the best one.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I wanted to touch on about the new engine though is it's gonna really blur the lines between reality and because you saw the demo video. Like I thought that was a fucking actual video.
It like looks like it could just be a video. Did you see the train station one?
That's the one I'm talking about.
Like it pretty much just looks like someone took a video and like of a train station. You can barely tell
So
that it's
if that gets implemented with VR and like looks that good, like we might be reaching some like Ready Player One type shit. Like
people
very quickly.
thing that are gonna literally give people heart attacks.
Yeah.
Imagine like a first person horror game in VR on that Unreal Engine.
Or remember PT?
Yes.
Imagine that with that engine.
I don't really play that many horror games, but I can just imagine where this can go.
Dude.
Like you said, VR, it could just like Ready Player One.
Yeah, like so quickly. Like I think we're approaching that so fast. But yeah, I don't know, man. We're at about an hour and 11. So yeah, man. Is there anything more you wanted to cover or?
We got to our talking points.
Yeah, man.
A variety of topics.
Yeah. And so yeah, if you guys want to hear more of our conversations, I guess we're playing on my Twitch all the time. Different games. Hopefully this guy will get a PC soon so he can play Tarkov with me, but
eventually.
But yeah, man, thanks for coming on. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
And for sharing your experience with EMS, because I know that was a ride for you. So
I think anyone who's interested in it, I would encourage you to go for it. The worst that can happen is you don't like it and then you just move on. But it's a cool job. You'll get some good experience. You get to see how the real world is, especially if you're younger, our age. Really throw you into the frying pan of the real world.
Yeah, 100%.
Humanity.
Yeah. I mean, like, if there's one place to do that that's not like the military, I'd say probably that, or like being a cop or something, like one of the first responder or military. Like, if you need to get really humbled, yeah, or like it's something you're interested in, or you're interested in healthcare at all, like you were saying, check it out.
There's always going to be jobs too. That's one thing about it. Like, you will always have a job once you get certified and everything. You can, like, between my certification work from AMR was like literally probably 10 days. Like I got my certification, applied, had an interview, like less than 2 weeks, I would say, getting hired. They're always hiring, no matter what, like no matter where you are.
Exactly.
It's a good opportunity.
Yeah, and get some life experience you really can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it's pretty fun. The wee woos. It's a good time. It's pretty fun to be able to just drive through red lights and whip through traffic and everything.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. But the wee woo. But yeah, man. Well, thank you for coming on. I hope everyone enjoyed, and I hope everyone has a great day. Take care.
Peace.